Welcome to Aunty K's, your favorite radical queer indigenous auntie, bringing you tarot every day. Hello everyone and welcome to Aunty K's Tarot. So today we are going to do a deck unboxing. I bought this deck yesterday as a random spur of the moment purchase. I went to the art museum in Ottawa with some friends and with my youngest child, Aunty, and we were there, and you have to walk through the gift shop to get to anything. You have to walk through the gift shop to get back out. You have to walk through the gift shop to eat. And there was this art oracles deck, and my friend noticed it actually. And I was like, oh no, I don't usually buy oracles. I don't really use them that much. But actually, you know, I have been keeping a few on my table and pulling them more than I did, which I kind of like. Okay, I'll get it. And we got a couple BIPOC artists on the cover. Here. So I was like, that looks good so far. I haven't looked all the way through the deck, but I have looked through the guidebook. They've shown almost all the diversity on the box. There's one or two more cards. That's it. Okay. It's a nice hard-covered box. It's manufactured who did it again? I read about it and now I've lost that. Lawrence King Publishing, who I haven't heard of. Oh, and each oracle card has a life advice, work advice, and inspiration advice. So that does look good for me. There is a guidebook. The guidebook tells you about the artist, and this is mostly what I've looked at. It tells you about artists, and it does it in a really fun way. All right. This is the inside of the box. That's thin cardboard. They're quite nice backs. So this one is by artist Ai Weiwei, and we have our life advice is when authority says to be quiet, get a loudspeaker. Work advice. Art must fight for freedom or the whole world is a prison. Inspiration. Some things are whole only when they shatter. And he was where in this book? Back here. Okay. Despite his trouble with authorities, Ai Weiwei continues to work from Beijing, where his hobbies include political deviance and being interrogated. With deep roots in activism, Ai's conceptual works taps into art, history, world events, and occasional bouts of dark humor to address contemporary concerns about Chinese society. For his work Fairy Tale, he flew 1,001 Chinese citizens to Germany's famous quinquennial Documentia art exhibition. For dropping a Han Dynasty urn, he did good on the title's promise and apparent protest against cultural repression. However, when a Florida man staged a homage protest of his own, purposely dropping and shattering one of Ai's vases on display at a Miami museum, I was not flattered and offered the man no tips on resisting arrest. And so this is, it's not all that diverse, but I think in the end, the guidebook, and what's written really works out here. One man's outbreak is another man's breakthrough. Know your perspective. Apocalypse then. Know who you aren't. Find clarity in clutter. There's more than one way to read a map. History has your back. Society stabs you in it. Use your talent like a weapon. Don't let convention confine you. So let's look at Artemisia here. So Artemisia put a crack in the Baroque ceiling by painting one. In collaboration with her artist father, though denied important artistic education and experience on account of being female, she still pursued figure painting inspired by works of family friend Caravaggio. Oh, who also has a card here, right in the guidebook. It's right above her. Her dramatic, sometimes violent works saw immediate recognition, but were then neglected until 1970s feminist stepped in. As a teenager, she took her art instructor to trial in a high-profile SA case. She won, but not without going through hell. Some read her biography into her subsequent paintings, which often depict biblical heroines kicking ass and taking hits. So, this is the book and the cards, and so far I enjoy it. Live to serve, serve to solve. Invent the words by which to live your life. Great heights are best seen from your lowest point. Here's the her art tutor. Try to keep violence metaphorical. Adjust your eyes to darkness. A head on the shoulders is worth two in the hand. By today's standards, Caravaggio would have a medical diagnosis. A genius, he was also belligerent and homicidal. His frequent travels were due to law evasion, not wanderlust. Plague left him an orphan. Immense talent won him high society's patronage. Like his life, his paintings are passionate and bloody contrasts, light and darkness, innocence and brutality, with lots of severed heads, i.e. David with the head of Goliath. While killing it professionally, Caravaggio literally killed a pimp. He then made his final masterpiece as a fugitive and died shortly after being jumped by vengeful assailants who busted his face and eyesight. Classic Caravaggio. So, I think I am going to enjoy this. Design your days, don't plan them. Aspire to profound practicality. Be unbending in your flexibility. Okay, what does it say about these two? Charles and Ray were the power couple of mid-century architecture, furniture, and industrial design. In the 1940s, they put experimentation towards the war effort, supplying soldiers with groundbreaking items such as molded plywood leg splints. They later applied such new technology toward their now legendary furniture. The Eames were joy pushers, emphasizing the importance of play and color and otherwise serious modern design. The experimental, very lived-in home and studio, now a California landmark, embodies their ethos of pleasure with a purpose. Cindy Sherman. Don't be yourself, be yourselves. Tell the truth in every fiction. Take a good long look in someone else's mirror. Art and science are for confronting mortality. Postpone death, preserve it in formaldehyde, encrusted in diamonds. Talk to your local pharmacist. Well, you're an interesting looking person. I don't know who a lot of these artists are. Some I do because I took art in school, which had some art history in it, although my art teacher believed that studying society was the better way to become a good artist. And I would agree with them. Oh, wait, I did not find you. Where are you? There, no. Damien, More Money, More Problems, Hearst, adult enfant terrible, is among the most celebrated and lucrative artists of his generation. A winner of the Turner Prize and preoccupied with the subject of mortality, aided by scientific and pharmaceutical advances, Hearst's artwork offers wry commentary on humanity's ineffective faith in tech and medicine to heal our existential wounds. Among Hearst's trademarks, flourishes are the suspension of sharks, calves, cows' heads, and dissected pigs in formaldehyde, the diamond incrustation of cast human skulls, and the display of so many pharmaceuticals in blacklit cabinets. All roads lead to a pharmaceutical cul-de-sac. Interesting. Look directly at whatever you're avoiding. The bullseye is always in the margins. Listen when a city tells its secrets. A composed soul is not necessarily a calm one. Scream into the canvas, not a pillow. Ask anxiety to pose for you. I forgot to say who the artist was on here, because the artist has depicted artists and their artwork, which is really very cool. And it is illustrated by Mikhail Sommer, and it is written by Katya Chalvich. The writing is also fabulous. That's what makes a good oracle deck, right? Like, now, how useful? I don't know. It could be pretty useful. I'll give it a test run. In case of emergency, locate your nearest exile. A good caricature is no exaggeration. Truth takes shape in the shadows. I know, I once had a caricature done of me in a political cartoon, and I didn't particularly like it. Frida Kahlo, convalescence lasts a lifetime. Like, I like the subject matter, but not the way it was represented. Convalescence lasts a lifetime. You don't sell painting without pain. Art is your most loyal companion. Externalize your internal world. Art's your most loyal companion. That's interesting for Frida Kahlo, because I thought she had a lifelong partner, although I don't know much about it. Frida Kahlo was part of the Mexican Cultural Revolution, which followed the Mexican Communist Revolution, where the communists promised indigenous people and their leaders like Zapata self-determination and independence. And that was a lie, because colonizers are colonizers regardless of whether they're money-grubbing capitalists or commies. They're both colonizers, and both have colonized. And but the commies usually promise indigenous people lies about independence and self-determination. And it was a lie. And so Zapata gets killed because they're not going to give indigenous people independence and self-determination. And instead, when they deny independence and self-determination, Mexico has this cultural revolution where they solve the indigenous problem by, we're all a bit indigenous anyway. And Frida Kahlo was a participant in that mass nation delusion, cult. It was mass national cultural appropriation, and it was delusional. And it, she was a part of that. Her art is cool, but she was a part of that, and she was a problem. And anyway, central to Frida Kahlo's vibrant work is her dramatic physical appearance with use of Mexican folklore and symbolism, which she was helping to create this idea of Mexican folklore and symbolism that would help supplant and erase indigeneity by making us all a bit native. In many of her intimate paintings address intensely personal experience, her troubled relationship with artist Diego Rivera, that would be who, her revolutionary politics and her wounded body, injured by polio in childhood, a traffic accident in young adulthood, and multiple surgeries thereafter. Posthumously, Kahlo became a household name and contested feminist icon. Her striking image lived on through biopics, internet homages, embarrassing murals, as well as rigorous museum programs. So you get the book, and you get, my take on it. She's complicated. She participated in Mexico stealing indigenous culture and appropriating it at a national level as part of the communist revolution denying indigenous sovereignty. Nature can keep a secret, keep Freud guessing. You can't run away from yourself, but running away from others can be quite productive. Be the art you wish to see in the world. Your work should not be selfish. Dress the part. Well, these two are just interesting. So these two, Gilbert and George, have waved the banner of Art for All since their collaborative debut in 1967. With works addressing sex, religion, politics, and social taboos through an aesthetic of sometimes hallucinatory pop. Early works include living sculpture, in which Gilbert and George painted themselves metallic and walked London streets. Today they're known for large grid-like paintings and are identified both by their trademark tailored suits and their birthday suits. They're often the nude subjects of their works. Gilbert and George have described their influence as everything from humanity to universal suffering. Scratch at the surface until your fingers bleed. Meaning separates art from craft. Try something new the old-fashioned way. Fight the power, paint the powerless. Show what you see, not what you saw. May your art help finance your legal fees. Oh, what did you do? May your art help finance your legal fees. So Gustav here, shock the bourgeoisie by keeping things real. Instead of idealized or historical versions of life, he painted what was in front of him, namely everyday people, including prostitutes, and their everyday bits, including an intimate close-up of where we all come from. Famous Courbet, known for the immediacy of his aesthetic, earned himself the reputation of founding realism and menacing society with his annoying beliefs about liberty. Held responsible for rioting Parisians' destruction of the Column and the Place Vendôme, celebrating Napoleon's career as conqueror, Courbet was jailed for 6 months and then fled to Switzerland to avoid more legal fees. He died prematurely, justified in his distrust of authority. How did he die? 1819 to 1877. Oh yeah, he's only like 58. Every portrait is a self-perspective. If no group will have you, start your own. Like gold, eroticism fluctuates with time. Unleash the beast within. Productivity, even in pajamas. Sketch boldly and paint with a big stick. Meaning doesn't come with titles. If fame finds you, keep working in spite of it. Chaos is handmade. In lieu of a canvas, find a wall. Try collaborating with Andy Warhol. Good work can come from bad habits. And what do you say about Jean-Michel Basquiat? Okay, we'll find him in here. Before he became every art dealer's dream catch, the charismatic Jean-Michel Basquiat found fame literally underground. First with friends, then solo. He wrote satirical commentary on the walls of downtown New York and its subways under the pseudonym Samo. By the early 1980s, Basquiat was wearing paint-splattered Armani suits and selling out his paintings of distressed figures, largely described as primitive or neo-expressionist. Of Haitian Puerto Rican descent, Basquiat lent his personal and political experience to art. His avalanche of stardom kept rolling, with Andy Warhol collaborations and friendships with various Madonnas and Bowies. When Basquiat died of a heroin overdose at age 27, many argued it was actually the 1980s gallery scene that killed him. Yeah. The 1980s was a brutal time to try and live amongst rich white people. The story only seems one-sided. There's no such thing as a happy ending. Find your future in the past. The future is big, bright, and shiny. Your balloon can't pop, but your pop can balloon. Learn the difference between camp and kitsch. Find the facts in a feeling. Nature doesn't sit still. The sun will rise whether or not you are there to watch it. You also contribute to humanity's Squirk. You also contribute to humanity's whatever this is. Make sure your rabies shots are up to date. Symbolism is just one ambulance ride away. He looks interesting, right? But are we tired of me flipping through this crazy book? I'll probably have edited that out. Joseph Boys claimed that as a World War II fighter bomber, he crashed in the Crimean Mountains, where nomadic Tartars covered his freezing body in animal fat and felt, which would become his trademark materials. Boys made fabricating personal history into an art form and believed that each person is an artist contributing to humanity's total work of art. By the 1970s, his unorthodox approach to academics and shamanistic overtures won him dismissal from his professorship and a punch in the face from a student. An ambulance was not called until 1974. However, it's not called until 1974. However, when it took Bays to inhabit a room with a wild coyote for the performance work. I like America and America likes me. Oh, I get it. He got a punch in the face from the student. There was no ambulance called then, but there was later on in 1974 during performance art, where it sounds like he might have contacted rabies. Theory makes perfect, practice makes problems. Sign your name in concrete. Go big or go home. Da Vinci. I'm not a Renaissance man. I'm a Renaissance man. Dissect what makes us human. Look into research like you would a crystal ball. Remembering through art is better than forgetting. An inference is worth 1,000 appendages. Draw on private pain to connect with the public. Louise Bourgeois was lucky enough to experience enough childhood trauma to influence an art career and thrived well into her 98th year on Earth. She worked in a variety of media, including sculptures and illustration, exploring themes of personal history and shitty family dynamics. She scrutinized and subverted domesticity. She is recognized for her large-scale public sculptures of spiders, a node to her dexterous protective mother, among other recurring symbols in sexually suggestive forms. Later in life, she was generous with her time and brutal honesty. In her New York home, she held Sunday salons for young artists to whom she professionally served their own asses for making bad art. One of these sculptures is outside of the museum. It looks just like this, a giant spider sculpture with an egg sac below it. Scandal before stardom. Making it look easy, it's hard. May your bathroom humor leave a serious legacy. Skeptic, heal thyself. Discipline is both a noun and a verb. When a stranger stares into your soul, do not press charges, stare back. No compromise is a good compromise. Blemished origins do not negate flawless conclusions. become ill with unhealthy perfectionism. One lives many lives in a lifetime. A good idea deserves a good aphorism. Your Vander Pseudonym. Don't fear pain. Art is an aesthetic. Do you like who you see in your petri dish? Become your paradigm. So we need to know who this is. Orlan. Her art spans photography, sculpture, and performance, but best known body of work is her body. Orlan went under the knife 3 times in the 1990s to sculpt herself according to paragons of femininity, waking from anesthesia with her chin of Venus, for example, in the forehead of Mona Lisa. She appropriated the male construct of feminine beauty and even stayed conscious for the first surgery. She later gave Madonna a spindle with some of her fat, the perks of being Madonna. Today, Orlan is still her own test subject, but operates with digital technology rather than scalpels. Interesting. Picasso. If nothing else, be prolific. Choose to have as many styles as you do lovers. Make something worth impersonating. Go far to go far. Exaggerate the subtle, share the unseen. Only an outsider sees inward. Logic should come from the heart. True simplicity takes a lot of concentration. Find utopia in a straight line. Breathing is secondary. Don't forget to think. A good manifesto is foremost. Legible. Reconsider your concept of small versus big. Never make an appearance without controversy. Tap the unconscious and pray it isn't boring. Being Dolly is inspiration enough. Quite liked him as a kid. Okay. Dolly was a technical wonderkind and relentless bombast who led the European surrealist movement mustache first. Dolly scavenged his innermost hallucinations to create its frightening, detailed paintings of subconscious imagery and wild experimentation in film. He was deeply inspired by discoveries made in his lifetime, from Freud to quantum mechanics. When not working, Dolly was either apologizing for his publicity stunts, apologizing for apologizing, or refusing to apologize. The persistence of memory. Dolly's most cited painting depicts a desert of melting clocks, all telling a different time. Government officials use this painting to train undercover narcs to chill during a bad trip. Wow. I didn't know that. Don't live to 94 without founding an art movement. The practical should also be art. Does your geometry look like poetry? I don't think we've read enough of the women who show up in here. Although there are a few more coming that I'm quite interested in. Sonia was raised in St. Petersburg by educated moneybags relatives who supported her art education in Germany and Paris. Wooed by the Parisian avant-garde, Sonia stayed in the City of Light as revolution loomed over the country of potato. In Paris, Sonia married Robert Delaunay. Together they helped develop Orphism, a cubism offshoot defined by vivid colors and geometric shapes. The Russian Revolution left Sonia without cash flow from her family, so she supported herself with textile, costume, and fashion design in Madrid. No less experimental than her paintings, Sonia deftly showed that the applied arts are damn fine too. Put on a good show for the surveillance cameras. Distance makes the heartbreak stronger. Evade neighboring states of privacy. Go viral, not bacterial. A flattered client is a repeat client. Your personality can be as colorful as your canvas. Don't hide your dirty sheets in the washer. Concentrate on finding, not losing yourself in art. Decay can be a fertilizer of new ideas. Like a good friend rolled in garbage, the work of Tracy Emin, British rep at the 2007 Venice Biennial, is both intimate and a potential biohazard. In Everyone I've Ever Slept With, 1963 to 95, the viewer is welcomed into a small camping tent in which Emin delivers on the title with those bedmates' names appliqued to the interior walls. Her acclaimed and contested My Bed consists of Emin's mattress with a depressive episode topped with stained sheets, stained panties, contraceptives, empty bottles, cigarette butts, and the emotional compost that fertilizes mess. Emin's personal and confessional works are not only self-portraits, but reflections of society's taboos. Vincent van Gogh. If committed, stay committed. Posthumous recognition requires a paper trail. Use the daylight to face the night. Also one of my favorites in childhood, as is William Blake. Is William Blake in here? I think he is. Transcend systems to find spirit. Hear music through sight. Begin with a dot. There he is. William Blake. Hell is hypocrisy on earth. Vision requires sight, not spirit. Madness is life. Genius in depth. William Blake, for me as a kid in a repressive evangelical household, was a breath of fresh air. My mom would buy me books of his work where he writes poetry. He's a poet. And then he paints, he makes art, and he writes the poetry and the art. The art and the poetry are the same piece of art, and I always really loved that. I was very inspired by that. A lot. I've done that in my art several times. And I quite like it. Okay. When young William Blake saw visions of angels and biblical figures, loved ones suggested he unsee them. Damn weirdo. But those visions were Blake's inspiration. Religious, historical, and imaginary spirits posed for him, he said. Today, this committed naturalist would have his own fashion line. But in his own time, Blake was considered a nut job, even as he led the Romantics with his poetry, illustrations, and engravings, commenting on the dichotomy of want versus action, knowledge versus ignorant. A religious man, Blake hated Bible-waving, killjoy hypocrites and believed in human equality and sexual liberation. Keep fighting the good fight, goes to William Blake. So that also is why I loved William Blake as a kid. Okay. Bad truth makes good fantasy. To be prolific, be versatile. Art is the methadone of the masses. Your soul is composed of the same dots as the universe. Distinguish yourself from your mirror image. Show them your hallucinations. Okay, so what do we have here? I know she's back here. Okay. The now octogenarian, so she's in her 80s. Now it's 1929. Okay, yeah. Now she's in her 90s, so she's still around. When was this published? 2017. Voluntarily lives in a mental institution in Japan, where she draws upon her visions and hallucinations for inspiration. Among the reoccurring elements of Kusama's work are polka dots, which she describes as a shape that makes us humans composed of particles, and unites us with the earth and sun. Kasuma's infinity rooms are mirrored artistic chambers that multiply bodies and alter perceptions. Over her long, prolific career, she has led the avant-garde with bold happenings, big ideas, and bright wigs. Learn everything from nothing. Include yourself in your list of materials. Enroll in a judo class. Eat dessert before dinner. Give your 15 minutes some time. Wanting can be better than having. And that is Art Oracles. I really like this. We'll see if it's usable as like an oracle deck. It might be. I don't really care because it's fun and it's kind of cool, and I think the writing is fantastic. The writing is fantastic, really well done, and I enjoyed it.